Garen, the Hurricanes also not having played in a final for a while. Their last final was in 2006, so neither side having that much finals experience, but a sold-out ground should be a great atmosphere. Just talking about the bigger picture, like I mentioned earlier, how much planning, I mean, I guess with the South African coaches, the Australian coaches, would they be using this time now to get a little sort of head start for the Rugby Championship and the World Cup?
Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, all three countries have different, the ways to approach this final. The All Blacks and Steve Hansen, he's missing, I think, 17 All Blacks in these two teams. So he's having to make do and prepare for their opening match against Samoa and their opening Rugby Championship match, without 17 players. When you look at Heineke Meyer, for his part, he's got a squad. He's got a squad that hasn't really played for quite a while now. Only the Stormers made the playoffs, but he's got 13 injuries to worry about. We saw Michael Cheika name the Australian team this morning. They've changed slightly the way they think about it, in that they've gone for overseas players as well. So they picked the Matt Guittos of the world.
Good to see him back.
It should be good. He's playing some really good rugby in France. So they're approaching it slightly differently. Obviously, they had both the Waratahs and the Brumbies playing as recently as last weekend.
Yeah.
So they might give them a little bit of a rest. But it's from a South African point of view, they're now saying that the Super Rugby won't count at all when we head into the Rugby World Championships. Obviously, when you look at New Zealand, for their part, they're wanting to play their players into form. So they got two teams playing as recently as this coming weekend, which doesn't give them a great break. But the All Blacks have got such depth that they get to rest all their players, and they're not scared to make up to 10 changes from match to match. So they do get some rest, even though they're playing longer into the tournament. So, obviously the big carrot at the end of the season is the Rugby World Championship, Rugby World Cup, at the 31st of October. So it's quite a long season. When you think they started in mid-Feb to go all the way to the end of October, you're going to have to rest players at some point. I think the depth of New Zealand, the fact that they rest players throughout the season and don't mind doing so and have faith in their B team, stands them in good stead. From the Springbok side of things, we're a little bit more afraid, I think, to test our B team, and actually the depth therefore doesn't build up, in that we don't really know how good our number 2 or number 3 are in each position. So it counts against us a little bit. That's why we have to bring back all these experienced players from Japan, France, England. We don't see day to day. We don't actually know how they're playing. But if we're picking like a Farid Dupree or Jacques Friant, basically on experience, without actually seeing who they're playing against and how well they actually are playing. So those are, I think, the key differences between all the three Southern Hemisphere superpowers. Obviously, when you come to the Northern Hemisphere, it's totally different. They don't have a Super Rugby to worry about. They have a Six Nations in the beginning of the season, and play some club rugby, and England only pick England-based players, so they pretty much know who's who and who's playing well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes up at the end of the Rugby World Cup. Like I said, that's the carrot everyone's really worrying about. Nobody's going to pay too much attention to who wins the Rugby Championships. It's a shortened version. It's not as important in 2015 as the Rugby World Cup. So yeah, that's pretty much how I see the order of importance this season.
Okay.